This is the Go Radio Business Show.
Tom,
Well,
great to have you back after a wee break. By the way, I smell Easter eggs there for you.
I did have too many Easter eggs,
Oh
Willie.
my God.
I definitely did.
I had a wee plan for during Lent, and then Easter I was going to try and lose weight. It's been a disaster.
But see, now I'm a granddad.
Aye. It's allowed.
It's the Wayne's fault.
I'm the same. I had my 3 grandkids here for 2 weeks.
That's it.
It was eat till you drop, and then feeding them all that sugar. So anyway, it's going to be back.
There's nothing been happening when we're away, Willie, so it'll be a quiet show today.
It's now 100 days of the great man. 100 days in power.
So, Willie, you're telling me that, and I'm sure it was tongue-in-cheek, but you never know with the Donald, that he wants to be Pope as well.
Well, he did make a comment this week saying that he believes that he should be considered. But it was tongue-in-cheek, but you know with Donald, there's probably a half-truth in there. And I'm looking forward to him being our new leader. You know, the 1.4 billion Catholics throughout the world are rooting for him.
Good luck. Good luck.
I'm sure his name will not be mentioned in the conclave.
The conclave.
In the conclave.
And I watched the movie Conclave.
Yes.
It's actually very good. I mean, it's a wee bit of twist at the end. I won't spoil it for our viewers and listeners.
Yeah, he gets killed. Oh no, sorry, that was the Bible. Sorry.
Yeah. Anyway, the Go Radio Business Show, Willie.
Right, let's talk
What's
about business.
on your mind?
Well, let's talk about, well, for the dust has settled a bit on the old tariff thing.
Yeah.
What's your thinking now in business terms?
Right. So let's recap on the tariffs.
Yeah.
And I did actually watch it. I'm one of those sad people who watched them come out with the
chart.
For those of us of a certain age, it reminded me of the Golden Shot when it comes out. Anne Aston and
here's what you could have won.
that was bullseye with Jim Bowen. You can win a speedboat, you know, other folk who don't live anywhere near the water. Anyway, tariffs. Right, let's just recap. Tariffs put prices up for who? Us, the consumers.
Yes.
The worldwide consumers. So American consumers. They reduced economic growth, they put down profits, they put up unemployment, they put up inflation, and they put up global geopolitical tensions around the world. Look at all the stuff with China now. So I am against tariffs. The basis of Trump's tariffs was flawed. It was O-level economics. You wouldn't have passed if you had written, I don't know if they do O-levels anymore, will they? But if you had written in your O-level economics paper the way his administration put together the tariffs, you would have failed.
Yeah.
It was worse than child's play. It's also flawed because Apple are not going to make the iPhone in America. Nike are not going to make their trainers in America because they've got supply chains all around the world. You know, Nike in Vietnam, Apple in China and India. One, because of labour rates, but the skills and the knowledge of how to ramp up production, of how to do it, it's not coming to America, Willie, no matter what he says. So, what do I think? I think it's a bit of a disaster for global trade. Nobody quite knows where they are. And every business, whether you're Scottish or American or whatever, we're always looking for certainty. We always deal in the grey areas of not quite sure. But this has caused so much upheaval, we don't quite know where we are. What's your view?
Dust has settled a wee bit now, but you're right. I agree with everything you've said. Tariffs is not the way how we kickstart your economy, right? And he will take credit for all sorts of things, and he's out today telling people it's the best 100 days ever of any president, right? Whatever. But I think that this week Adidas told you, all it's doing is putting prices up for the consumer in America, same as it is for Nike. So I think that people have seen through that. But we in the UK yet, we haven't actually found out what the deal is going to be. There's a lot of rumours that it's going to be okay and we're going to be happy with it. He seems to be cozying up to us a wee bit. So I would hope, right, that things settle down and he backtracks on a lot of especially the high percentage numbers he was talking about. But what will be really interesting is he will find someone very formidable in Mark Carney.
Right.
Right.
Interesting.
And I think
Who's
now
the
the
new Premier
of Canada, very able guy.
Former Bank of England.
Absolutely. Not a politician, probably what
No.
we need running countries,
No.
right? And I think that it'll be interesting to see how the Canadian-US tariff thing goes. I watch that with interest.
So Britain and perhaps Scotland seem to be cozying up to the Donald. King Charles has invited him for a state visit, which I think is pretty unprecedented. A premier gets 2 state visits, because he had one in his first term. And what do you think about this? Because this affects Scotland. There's rumours that Turnberry Hotel down in glorious Ayrshire, which is a wonderful place, you and I go there quite a lot, it has been stopped by the RNA from getting the Open Championship. Do you think it should get the Open Championship?
Well, the Open Championship has been there before.
It has.
In the past.
But not under Donald's ownership.
No, I honestly, I love Turnberry.
You do?
I love it. Right?
So do I.
Get who owns it, I love Turnberry.
Yeah.
Right. So I would have no problem whatsoever, especially if another Open has been in Scotland, or trying to grow Scotland. I believe that what happened is that because the players have become so powerful, they're overhitting the ball. I don't think they thought that Turnberry was the challenge. It would be as an open challenge. It will be if the wind's blowing. But I would love to see the Open at Turnberry or Troon or wherever it may be. So I would not be against, because of the ownership of Turnberry, that should not be a barrier to the Open being here. And the Turnberry Hotel is magnificent, and the setting and the course is magnificent.
So I agree with you.
You should have bought that.
Well, I did try, but anyway. So I agree with everything you say. Not that I know anything about golf, but people who I do know who play there say it's one of the best courses in the world now, Willie. He really has invested. So Donald Trump has put his money, or maybe somebody else's money, into Turnberry, and it's one of the best courses in the world. And I would love Turnberry to get the Open. It'd be great for Ayrshire. I mean, on days like this, we're having a bit of a heat wave in Scotland just now. There's no better place in the world.
Especially, Tom, since they've invested in the road down there now, which is much easier to access. I think it's took about 15, 20 minutes off the journey.
Absolutely.
Right, so I think, no, I would not be against Turnberry having the Open.
Well, there we go. You heard it here first, folks. Turnberry for the Open. We're for it. Where we going next one?
Right, so let's try and get a wee bit of kind of good news stories, right? So we see that that there's been great news locally as Motherwell headquartered finance tech company Car Money announced it will create 50 new jobs, and it's based in their head office, Motherwell. The roles will be spread across finance, compliance and sales as the Peter Vardy-backed financier sees rapid growth. Great news for South Lanarkshire.
It's great news.
North Lanarkshire.
And Alistair Greer, who's the CEO, is saying he wants to get to a turnover of £730 million a year by 2029 coming out of there. So, good news. Another bit of good news, I hope, is that Airbus and Boeing, the two huge aircraft manufacturers, are taking over Spirit Aerosystems. Why is this important? Well, Airbus are taking over the Prestwick facility. A lot of very highly paid, very technical jobs there. They make wing components for the Airbus A320 and the A350. And Airbus is an amazing company, Willie. There's only one person that I give my money to and invest on my behalf. It's a guy called Chris Hahn. And Chris Hahn is an amazing guy. He runs a hedge fund. And he's the son of a Jamaican car mechanic. And I think Chris Hahn is the best guy in the world for managing money. He also gives about £500 million a year to charity because he's so, he's just brilliant at making money. And I was on a conference call where he gives an update every quarter, and he talked about Airbus. And what he said about Airbus was, he didn't mention this, but what he said was, what I haven't told you about Airbus is it's actually Europe's biggest defence company. And since the Donald has told Europe he's not protecting us anymore, European countries have got to get 3% of their GDP into defence, and Airbus are going to benefit from that. But anyway, I think it's really good news for down at Prestwick. There's a bit of a question mark over the old shots in Belfast, which is also part of it. But they've carved it up between Boeing and Airbus, and good news for Prestwick, I would say. And I haven't really heard, have you heard any more about Prestwick Airport being sold? I haven't really heard.
I think this may be part of it when things, I think that what could end up happening here is that Prestwick Airport could be used as a testing place for new aircraft. And it's interesting that two huge rivals in Airbus and Boeing getting together to work, which I think is great news. We actually do work for Boeing in the States. I do consultancy for Boeing, and I'm maybe going to be doing a lot of FM with Boeing. And it's huge company, huge facilities, huge properties all over the States. I know they've had their problems to seek recently, but obviously they'll fight their way through that. But this is fantastic news for Prestwick, fantastic news for Ayrshire. So I think that let's watch this space and see what happens.
Watch this space.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Keeping on the good news, see that Edinburgh Biosciences, a company that invented a new procedure that will mean cataract treatment can now be done in the high street by an optometrist as opposed to a surgeon. This will dramatically increase access to this vital operation for millions of sufferers. The business has raised over $2 million in loans, investments to commercially revolutionise technology. Scotland is leading the way once again.
And this is good news because friend of the show, David Molesdale at Optical Express, has been doing cataract procedures to try and take some of the waiting list down. So I would be interested in David's view of this. But on the face of it, on the eye of it, looks good news.
Knowing David, I think there might be a wee part of that 2 million might have came from him.
David,
he never misses a trick.
Absolutely.
Right. So let's what about the scary story this week about the blackout in Spain and Portugal and parts of France?
Right. So
in business terms, that must have been a disaster.
I've been busy this week running about, and have they got to the bottom of what's caused it, Willie? Because I missed the news this morning.
They said that kind of once in a lifetime atmospheric occurrence created this. Right. I don't know if that is because you're scared to say that the Russians or someone else hacked you, right?
Chinese.
But it's, I mean, scary when you've seen, and this is interesting, right? My son pointed this out to me, right? Did you see the panic that came about just with that happening? People fighting to get onto buses, people fighting to get into airports, and what my son was saying was, if you wanted to create Armageddon, right, anywhere, right, don't need to drop bombs, right, cut off people's electricity and cut off their access to water. And you only need to do that. And you only need to do that. Well, if you sort the electricity, you're going to sort that out anyway, right? If you do that within 4 days, right? People are at their wits' end about what you can do, and people are liable to do anything.
So it came home to me because one of my business partners, Jim McMahon, he's given up the chairmanship of Motherwell, so he's got more time in his hands. So he was over in Portugal, and I was trying to get hold of him, and he sent me a text saying, "Tom, I'm trying to save the battery in my phone. I can't speak to you because I don't know when I can charge it again."
Mm-hmm.
I mean, stupid things like that.
Yeah.
But let's find out. I know, listen, everybody jumps in the bandwagon to make sure this is because of something they believe in. And climate change, nobody's denying climate change. They're saying, it's because of climate change. Governments are not doing enough. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll follow up next week on it, Willie.
Okay. I think I've been having a good think during the break over the last 2 weeks. And I think about the show and what we can do and what we want to talk about. And I think it's time to take the gloves off, right?
Oh.
Because I think that we, as a country, and I'm talking about the UK and Scotland, in a really perilous situation with where we're going, right? And I'll tell you why I think that. I watch people going on to these debate programmes and Question Time, perfect example. I see the Green Girl, Lucas, and I see Gary Economics, whatever his name is, on debate, on Question Time. And what they do is, if you want to get a clap for the audience, you're just going to say, right, here's what we need to do. We need to tax the rich and feed the poor. And everybody will clap, right? Now, it's not the biggest problem that we've got in society at the moment, Tom. The biggest problem we've got in society is actually all the hard-working people in the middle. The people who pay the most tax, that band of middle class to top one class, that, Tim, nobody's happy at the moment. Nobody's happy.
Nope.
Nobody's happy. And what we need to do is we need to focus on how we can make things better for the majority in there, and then that will help us help the people at the bottom. And then we said that we don't mind getting taxed a bit more. Just going on and saying tax the rich and feed the poor is not the answer.
It's a very lazy state.
It is. It's too easy to get a clap, right? But I'm serious about this. We need the people that are in that bracket, the 30,000 to 50,000 who combined pay more tax than me and you and everybody else put together. Life is a struggle at the moment, right? And we need to look at this, focus. And today we've had all this thing, you know, in the Herald newspaper today, quite rightly, about poverty, and now they're using a new phrase, deep poverty. I remember living in poverty myself. I'd hate to think what deep poverty sounds like or looks like, but
Willie the Hatchet.
Exactly. I think that we need to, our politicians have to engage, right? The bottom line is this. We can't get away from the fact that every local authority in Britain, if it was a business, would be bankrupt.
Really?
Right? Yes.
Yeah.
Right? The most of them administration, they've all got deficits. So for me and you, that's bankrupt.
Yeah.
Right? When there's no way out. And things are getting worse and worse. Our services are getting worse. I'm not talking about, I'm talking about everywhere. Everybody. So we're not having to go at one government, one political party. Everybody. We have to wake up and smell the coffee. That we need to encourage real clever people to come into politics. We need to pay them more. We need to get good guys. Maybe we don't need as many, but I'm telling you right now, if we don't address this situation, we are going to be in trouble, right?
Well, I think we are in trouble, Willie.
So I sent you a wee video this week of a girl, I don't know who she was, right? But she put a video out there on TikTok saying, where is Scotland the brave? Are you kidding yourself on? And she's right. She's absolutely right. So what do? People like with half a brain stepping up to the plate here, because at the moment, people are absolutely struggling. Nobody's happy, and we need to do something to try and change that mood.
Right. So our Hunter Foundation have asked Oxford Economics to do a piece in Singapore, which I'll send to you, and maybe we can do a programme on it, because we're going to come out with some bold ideas.
Let's commit to that right now, doing a whole programme and the options.
And my team actually sat me down and said, right, Tom, what do you expect to come out of this? Because remember, we did one in Ireland.
Yeah.
And I said, I fully expect to be ignored. Because that's what happened the last time.
Yeah.
And if we look at where Scotland is just now, there seems to be, if any government agency needs more money, it's like, oh, just put up the taxes. But the bottom line in the world today is companies with the best talent, the best people win. And I believe countries with the best talent win.
100%.
And the fact is, if you're a talented person, you can go anywhere, Willie.
Yes.
You can go anywhere. Now, you and I love Scotland, and we're not going anywhere soon. But I think I said we ran a programme at Blair with a bunch of scale-up entrepreneurs. We brought John Scott, who lives in Dubai.
Yeah.
And most of the questions to John were not, all right, how do we scale our business? It was like, so what's the tax rate in Dubai? And how do we get there? And I'm going, whoa, I want you to stay here in Scotland and grow this.
Yeah.
And I believe we are at a crossroads in Scotland where the decisions we make today will decide where we are in 10 and 20 years. Yeah. And this is serious stuff. You and I agree in this. And I think we should devote a programme to saying, what's the big ideas for Scotland?
Yeah.
I mean, here's an example. And this is not party political. I believe the SNP have got the income tax rates wrong in Scotland because, you know, I'm trying to attract talent into Scotland. I'm having to pay them more because we've got 6 tax rates and it's higher than England. And the SNP can say what they want. The company needs to pay them more to come to Scotland. Of course, tax is only one thing in that argument, but it's a big thing.
Yeah.
And if I'm trying to get there, they're saying, oh, well, the tax rate here, there is a marginal tax rate, Willie, when you go over a certain amount, that you're paying 60-odd% in tax. That is wrong.
Yeah.
And the other thing I think is wrong from the Labour government in Westminster is some smart person probably went to Oxford, sat and said, oh, if we tax the non-DOMs more, there'll be more tax. Well, guess what? There isn't, because the non-DOMs are leaving. London, I've got figures for London, showed in the past 12 months they've lost 11,000 millionaires. Now, there is this feeling, and you and I know it, where the people are good riddance.
Yeah.
And there are a couple of pals of mine who have built huge business, the Livingston brothers, you probably know them, and they've decided to leave Britain.
Yeah.
We worked it out that the tax they paid while they were in Britain paid for 130,000 families' benefits. Now, that's what should happen.
Yeah.
Those with the broadest shoulders should carry the burden for those who need help.
Yeah.
So who's going to pay their benefits now, Willie?
Exactly, and this is
Who's
why
going to do it?
we have to educate people who say good riddance.
Good riddance.
Right. So you're going to be in a much worse state. But I think that one of the things that I've been mentioning for months and months now, right, is that the indicators are not going the right way. And this is not a politics show, this is a business show.
It is a business
and what
show.
we're worried about here is there's a report this week that graduates now cannot get jobs in McDonald's.
Oh dear.
Right. And I'm saying that the next big indicator, which will be the most frightening, is when the unemployment levels go up. We've only got 25% of the people at the moment in Scotland contributing to the tax take. What's that going to be when that's worse?
So the whole reason the Hunter Foundation does scale up Scotland, puts so much effort and money into Blair and bringing people together, is because we believe the best social policy ever written is a decent paid job.
Yeah.
Who creates the jobs? The wealth creators, the entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
What are we doing? We're chasing them away.
Yeah.
It needs to stop now.
100%. And this is not a moan. This is, we're putting up a topic here that hopefully we're going to discuss for weeks and weeks and weeks. And hopefully what we're trying to do here is get a solution.
Stimulate the debate.
Correct.
Because let me tell you, I don't know which camera I'm in, the status quo is not acceptable.
100% is the road to Armageddon.
Right, can I lighten the mood a wee bit?
Go on.
So it was a kilt walk at the weekend, and Willie arrived in Glasgow Green early on Sunday morning with his manager's coat in. I think it said Queen's Park. It didn't say Celtic, but
It said Adidas, actually.
I'm a bit confused.
Plug for Adidas.
But and the kilt walk has been amazing since we got involved, and the figures are unbelievable, Willie. Paul Cooney, who runs Kilt Walk, who also runs the football show here in Go Radio, Paul phoned me this morning and said, right, Tom, here it is. In 10 years since the Hunter Foundation's been involved, the Kilt Walkers and ourselves have raised £53.8 million.
Amazing.
For over 4,000 different Scottish charities.
Brilliant.
And everybody get out in the rain at the weekend because it wasn't as sunny as this. And Paddy McGuinness came up and did it, and they all had on the Arnold Clark, because Arnold Clark supporters amazingly, the Arnold Clark sunglasses. And he said, I can't understand it, Tom. It's raining. People's got a smile on their face. They've got sunglasses on and they're cracking open the tenants. So brilliant. And one of our other sponsors, Lidl, has said they're investing 500 million and they're looking at potentially 50 more sites in Scotland. So good on them.
Right.
Let's end the show, this section, on a high. So there we are. There's great folk in Scotland who want to help others who need a wee hand up.
Brilliant.
The Go Radio Business Show with Hunter and Haughey. Hit subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and never miss an episode.
Tom,
Yes.
we've got a different guest this week.
A different
but
guest.
delighted to have Phil Batty, who is the CEO of Glasgow's 2026 Commonwealth Games initiative. Welcome.
I've been wanting to meet you, Phil, because somebody phoned me up trying to get some business from you, but I said, I don't know Phil, but now I know you.
Now you've got my number and my email
can
address.
Make the introduction. So, Phil, I detect not a Glasgow accent there. How did you end up coming to Scotland?
No, born and bred in Yorkshire, so from Hull. And I was lucky enough to be part of the UK City of Culture programme. So Hull was UK City of Culture back in 2017.
Right.
Put us firmly on the map, quite literally on the weather map.
So you were involved with delivering that?
Yeah, so I was a volunteer on the bid. So when we were bidding to be UK City of Culture, and then when we won, got to be part of the team delivering it. And that was my first ever major event. And
Brilliant.
been doing major events ever since.
And then how did you get to come to Glasgow?
Well, I was lucky enough to take part in the Commonwealth Games. We were in Birmingham in 2022. So I looked after the opening and closing ceremonies for the Commonwealth Games, the Queen's Baton Relay,
Wow.
Culture and the Live Sites programme. So I had such a blast doing it the last time. When I found it was coming back here in Scotland in 2026, I needed to make sure that no one else got the job and that I could be there front and centre and deliver it.
Yeah.
So would it be, I know Willie was involved the last time with Lord Smith, friend of the show, Robert Smith, delivering the Commonwealth Games for Glasgow the last time, but would it be fair to say this is a Commonwealth Games light this time, or you tell me?
I don't think I'd use the word light. I think
Right.
what we've seen is, and this is globally, not just here in Scotland and wider, is that major events have just got out of hand. They've become bigger and bigger, more building work, more capital, more money, and actually that money wasn't delivering overall a better event. So what we're doing here in Glasgow is we're looking at what makes a great world-class sporting competition, which is brilliant venues, world-class athlete experience, a city that wants to host. All of those things Glasgow already has.
Are here,
Scotland already has. So we're doing this project for 150 million. So in context, Birmingham was about 800 million. So that's the scale and difference.
Yes, it
But
does.
that's not about
Yes.
it's not about doing less. It's just about doing it better.
Yeah. So explain to the listeners, the viewers, as to how it's actually, ended up in Glasgow this time.
So it's been a journey to get here.
Yeah.
So the 2026 Commonwealth Games was due to be happening in Australia, in Victoria.
Right.
They took a political decision not to host the event, so they withdrew from the event last year. And there
Was that money, Phil?
it was a combination of money and politics, I think, both in equal measure.
Yeah.
And what they agreed as part of withdrawing was there was an amount of money that was put on the table for anywhere in the Commonwealth, so any one of the other 73 nations and territories, and said, if you host, you'll get this £100 million inward investment into your country to stage the games. And Scotland was brave enough and bold enough to say, sounds good chunk of money. We can put that to good use. We can do a good job of it. So
Where do you get the other 50 from?
or a combination of commercial revenue, so ticket sales, broadcast rights sales, some other sort of partnership work that we're doing. But the key thing is no public money is going into the event. So it'll be completely privately funded, which means all the benefit for the city and people of Glasgow and Scotland is coming off the.
So there's a chance here for Glasgow to lay down a blueprint for other countries thereafter, if they want to follow that model.
Huge. I mean, this is Scotland at its most pioneering because, when we went into this, there wasn't a host for 2026. We announced just a couple of weeks ago that 7 countries across the Commonwealth now want to host either the 2030 Games or the 2034 Games because Scotland was brave enough to reimagine what it looks like. And, Nigeria, Canada, India, New Zealand, they've all put their hat forward. And actually, it's because it's a new model. They didn't want to host the old model.
So, Phil, we're all about bigging up Scotland, obviously. So who made the decision? Who have we got to thank for this? Because I like this model.
Yeah.
I think a big part of the leadership came from Commonwealth Games Scotland.
Right.
So they were really, cognizant of the fact that Commonwealth Games is a huge platform for Scottish athletes to compete under a Scottish flag.
Right.
And without the Commonwealth Games, yes, there's the Olympics under Team GB and many great Scottish athletes compete in that context. But this is a pinnacle event. It's a tier 1 world-class sporting event. And Commonwealth Games Scotland.
Was there only one person you would say, Tom?
Ian Reid, who's the chair of Commonwealth Games Scotland. He can have the pin badge.
Yeah.
We don't know Ian Reid, but well done, Ian.
Well done, Ian Reid.
We need more of your thinking
Thing to get
in
into
Scottish
politics.
political life.
And both governments then backed it. So we got support from the Scottish government and UK government.
Well done to them as well.
So they're not paying for it, which is even better. So they can support it without paying for it.
Yeah.
And
They
obviously,
don't pay for anything. The taxpayers pay for it.
and Glasgow City
Come on now.
Council obviously has the venues.
I think, to be fair, but is there a wee bit of underwriting?
No, there's one tiny amount of underwriting around security for
That's
2.3 million, but that is linked to if the terror threat increases. So
Because
it's
this
9
sounds
apiece.
amazing.
It's great. It's
Out
all
the box
upside.
thinking, Scotland pioneering, boy from Yorkshire, prefers Scotland.
Living up
Willie.
Glasgow.
I love it. I
Living
love
up
it,
Glasgow.
Phil.
I am loving living in Glasgow. Like I live.
This doesn't go out in Yorkshire, you're fine.
No, you've to be fair, love Yorkshire too, but love living in Glasgow.
So in business terms, obviously the headline is that hopefully it will attract 150 million inward investment.
Yeah.
Is that right?
And jobs that
Yeah.
come from that, but also, you know, the spend that comes from the audiences that are coming, the massive profile for Scotland
Multiplier
across the
effect
Commonwealth. Yeah.
in the economy.
We've already got a deal with Channel 7 in Australia to broadcast the games to all Australians.
Yeah.
So that's an amazing advert for Glasgow right across Australia.
Brilliant.
Come visit.
How do you, when we hear all these things after a major sporting event, Phil, about, you know, that what it done for the economy, how do you measure? How do you really measure? There's a lot of guesstimating.
There's a lot of guess. I think a lot of it is ultimately down to what gets spent in and around an event. So yes, we need suppliers and partners to deliver the games. And I think one of the things that we're already finding, having only been around for a short period of time, is this is a city that already has great businesses that want to help us deliver the games. So it's great to make that spend there. Jobs, you know, we've got, yes, I'm from Yorkshire, but we've got an incredible team full of Scots that have delivered, you know, every Commonwealth Games since 2002 has had a Scot in it and has had a Glaswegian in it. So amazing team there. And then clearly, you know, there's the spend in local businesses, shops. We're not having a village, as you sort of alluded to earlier. So we're going to be using all local hotels. So that's all going in. There's more money going into the local economy. So yeah, it's a completely different model.
Right, so come on, this is going to be a kind of logistics, a bit of a night. No, I'm going to use the word nightmare, right?
Opportunity, Willie.
So I take it this is a huge operation to organise the accommodation, the hotels, all that.
There are more.
You look as if you're
there are
really for
you in charge of that,
spreadsheets.
Phil?
By de facto, I get the blame if it goes wrong, but I'm pretty confident that we've got a really switched on accommodation team. I think one of the things that we've done differently this time is we've designed the games for the city. So the venues that we're using, Scotstoun, Tollcross, the arena, the velodrome, the SEC campus, they're all within 8 miles of each other. Yeah. So actually, when you're thinking about those really operationally complex topics like transport or accommodation or arrivals and departures, we've just got a much smaller footprint, which means hopefully it's simpler, but it also means it's environmentally more friendly too.
Right.
So what's the big place, Willie, opposite Celtic Park?
The velodrome.
Is that the velodrome?
Yeah. Amazing cycling. Amazing. Oh, Glasgow has got some fantastic,
brilliant venues.
It has National Stadium in Hampden, you know, everything else that goes with that whole Hampden campus, everything. So let's talk about numbers. How many rooms do you have to find just for the athletes?
We've got 3,000 athletes.
Wow.
So, and you know, people are saying, actually, was this a different size games? Yeah. To put that in context, Birmingham was 4,000 athletes. So it's still like 75% of the number of athletes. You've got to find homes for them. We've got an increased parasport program, which means we've actually got a lot more technical officials and support staff that come with the team. So there's probably around, just for the teams alone, 4,500 bedrooms.
Buy a hotel, Willie.
I was going
to need to book early.
No, we're going to buy one.
Right.
Go for it. So it can be part of the athlete accommodation.
Somebody. So
I think somebody else owns it, Willie. Right. Who I don't think you can do a deal with. Hey, anyway.
I think you can trump him. Right.
I think his jokes.
So I'm obviously fascinated with the logistics, right? So people just turn up and things happen, but they don't realise all the work that goes behind.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, we won't name any hotels, but so do you start off with the B&Bs, then go to the budget hotels before you end up getting to the big boys and doing magic deals with it?
I'd love to say it was done that way. It's not. Ultimately, we need to make sure the athletes have the best experience they can possibly have.
Right.
Because, you know, they need to walk onto that field of play and compete at the best, most elite performance they can. So a lot of our starting conversation is, where are the venues? Where are the sports? How can we make sure the athletes have to travel the least journey to be able to get to the field of play? That's then balanced with, we also want to make sure that, you know, if you're a team that's brought lots of different sports to the competition, do you want to stay together? Do you want to, stay apart? So yeah, it's a proper jigsaw piecing together who goes in which bedroom and how it all works.
Well, it'd be crazy. So, and do you get the kind of elite athletes? The last time obviously we had, Usain Bolt. Did they say we want the penthouse? We want.
It's very much about an inclusive and equal approach there. So
believe that. Don't believe that.
What happens in each of the individual teams?
Right, how's the last time we see it?
That's a Team Scotland question. But no, I think ultimately one of the reasons athletes choose to go to a Commonwealth Games is because it's a multi-sport event. So you may be a 3x3 basketballer, but you want to see what's going on in judo. You want to know a bit about bowls. So this is probably one of the few events in their year where they get to see a bit of other athletes from other sports. And, that's part of the reason.
It's funny you say that, because I remember, it was the Olympics, but I remember Andy Murray talking about that. The buzz of being in the village.
Nothing.
It wasn't just about tennis. When he was seeing all these wonderful athletes, you see all these athletes walking past, like, oh my God, I'm glad he doesn't play tennis. It's amazing. So I think that for us, getting back to, the show's all about business, but obviously during that period, was it a 2-week period? How long does it last?
10 days of competition and opening ceremony.
Shops and clubs and pubs and restaurants, will be maybe 4,000 or 5,000, 6,000 people in the city that wouldn't normally be here.
I mean, we've got 500,000 tickets that will be on sale towards the end of this year. So 500,000 tickets that will be out there and ready for the public. Obviously, it's on telly as well, so a lot of people will watch it on TV and make a bit of a day out, and hope to bump into the athletes, see the mascot running through the city.
Have you got a mascot?
We are deep. That is a top secret.
All right.
Okay. So there is a mascot.
Will you come back and exclusively reveal on the Go?
You can interview the mascot.
Wow, Willie.
So I bought one of the last statues of the mascots. I've got it in front of my office.
Good old Clyde.
So I need to try and put the other one on top of that one. I've not got another roundabout where I can fit it.
So you bought that. I bought the big Tunnocks tea cake then.
I wondered where that had gone. We were getting ready to use that again.
I don't know where. I think my wife might have chucked it out.
Tell us, at the moment, obviously, not that long to go, next year.
Are you calm?
What's keeping you awake at night?
I think it answers the question, am I calm? Yes. I think there is.
Good.
This will be the fastest ever delivered.
Oh, really?
Sport. Yeah, I mean, in Birmingham, we thought we were the fastest and we did it in 3.5 years. And Scotland's about to do it in 1.5 years. But I think, if you look across the world, there are probably, it is only Glasgow that could do it in these time scales. It's got the venues, it's got the people, it's got the supply chain.
I love it.
It's got the expertise. It's done it in the last 12 years. So it's fast, but that doesn't mean it's chaos. It is a very calm, methodical approach, and we've got a great team, great partners. Everybody's sort of united in trying to get towards next summer, and I think today is something like 450 days to go. So there's a nice
countdown.
There's Longines, one of our partners, have a countdown clock on our website, which is the first thing I check every morning.
So I mean, this has really ignited my interest in the Commonwealth Games coming back to Scotland, because when it was first put, you think, oh, hang on a minute, does that not cost the country a lot of money to do? And Scotland, Ian, what was his name?
Ian Reid.
Ian Reid and yourself have come up with a disruption in terms of time and delivery, and said Glasgow's got the infrastructure, it's paid for, and it's not going to cost the taxpayer. I mean, this is great stuff.
And I think also just, the Commonwealth is this amazing family of nations, but historically, maybe only 5 or 6 of them could ever afford to host. So the fact that now we're seeing almost every continent in the Commonwealth putting a bid forward shows that if we genuinely believe major events should benefit everybody, it's a huge step forward, and that would never have happened by itself. It needed a leader, it needed a pioneer, it needed
out of adversity.
Exactly.
You've got to come up with solutions.
Yeah, but the reason why we're interested to get you on this morning is obviously it's a visual, but we see this as a disruptor. Right, and how you do it, which is brilliant. Right, and obviously adding this to your CV, so whether it's Canada, Nigeria, whoever, it looks like you just jump in and say, listen, I'm your man, I've been part of delivering too.
You're going to call Phil.
Exactly. I've been really lucky. I've got to work on lots of different types of events with lots of different challenges that have come in. But, I, like many people in the industry, it just took one event, which was Hull UK City Culture, to give me my first go at a major event. And after that, I've had the opportunity to work on Borough of Culture. I've had the opportunity to work in America and the Middle East. You do see that this is a world of great opportunity, and actually we're doing that all over again this time round.
So Phil, this is the Go Radio Business Show. So how do you think Glasgow and the West or Scottish businesses can benefit? What do they need to be thinking about? How can they interact with it and deliver something really special?
I think there's a couple of things. The first one is, it is coming and the dates are out there. So any business.
So what's the dates?
The 23rd of July to the 2nd of August.
Right.
And
2026,
not this year. 1 year to go this year, not this year. So there's, inevitably any business, big or small, could be planning. So if you're a customer-facing business like retail or hospitality, starting to think about the packages you put on the customer experience. But if you're a big employer, thinking about, is it volunteering opportunities for your staff? Is it becoming a partner of the games? Is it thinking about how you can be one of our suppliers? So I think businesses preparing is key. Second is talking it up. There's nothing better than hearing Scott saying how great it is the games coming back to Glasgow. And we cannot have enough people doing that, because normally we'd have years of people. I think the lead into 2014 was sort of 7+ years from that point of view. So to get that buzz going is really important. And I think staff newsletters, engagement, employee engagement, talking to the public is really key.
Very good.
And lastly, just, finding a way to be involved. You don't necessarily need permission to be involved. It's coming and it's here, mate.
Well, we will definitely talk it up, especially it's no cost to the public purse.
We like it.
I'm sure the public will love that. We'll love that. But I think that just when you touched on it there, we were talking about earlier, that people are a wee bit down at the moment, right? And it's events like this that lift people, right? Yeah. Excuse me. And I can tell you that when the year of culture for Glasgow, I'm telling you, lifted this city from there to there, right? I mean, I couldn't believe it. People 10 years later were still talking about Pavarotti, right? But to be fair, people were also making a comment, he doesn't like it when you join in, you know what I mean? It's singing, But I think what I do remember about the Commonwealth Games is the weather was magic.
Weather, like today.
Yeah,
like today.
The weather was magic.
It's always sunny in Scotland.
It's a condition of delivering the game.
All the pubs in the Merchant City, all outside, everybody was enjoying themselves. There was music, there was all sorts of stuff. So for the people of Glasgow, here's a good reason maybe to lift a wee bit of the gloom, get right behind the Commonwealth.
Major events are meant to be fun. Like, we love sport, we love culture. So major events bring those two things together over a very short period of time. And, just we've all got to have something to smile about, something to look forward to.
What does a success look like, after the game for you?
Inevitably, given we are doing a new model, on time and on budget is key. There's no point in doing it and not doing it well for the money.
We're going to get you to run the country if you do.
Well,
yes.
on time, on budget.
Phil for FM.
Not
facilities management either.
Second thing is ultimately is a showcase of Scotland and Glasgow. So in every decision we're making, whether it's opening ceremonies, partners we work in, sports we've got in the competition, we need to make sure that all of those do a brilliant job at raising the profile of Glasgow and Scotland to the world.
What about building ferries, Phil?
No, but in seriousness,
you don't need a ferry to get
no,
to
but
the
let me
venues
tell
this
you,
time
in
round.
seriousness,
I heard on time, on budget.
that'll be seriously, that will be a first.
But
that will be a first.
But you've got to design the event for the resources you've got, and that's what we've done here. In the venues we've picked, the sports we've picked, we've gone, what are Glasgow's strengths, and let's design it for that. And let's not remember, there was a huge investment in 2014. So this is part of the legacy of that. We couldn't do this if 2014 hadn't happened. So this is a return on the investment that people made all those years ago. Right now here in 2026.
So let me ask you, is this your first role as a CEO?
This is my first major event role as
so let me
as
just
CEO.
We're going to give you a wee tip here. See when you
don't do it.
See, no. See when you sit and say, no, this is what we've got. This is what you've got on paper, right? And in reality, nothing ever works out that way. It'll be where you have to find how you deal with the contingencies, right, and the choices. But it feels as if we've got someone here who's got confidence they can deliver in time and budget. And I'm telling you this, see if you do, we're going to have you back on here, right? We're going to get you the job, whoever gets it next. And we'll speak to Mark Carney, right? If Canada won it, trust me, we'll say, here's your guy. And Mark Carney will be definitely impressed with somebody who can bring something in time and budget.
But that's the core to the job, isn't it? We've taken something on that's precious. We've protected it. It's 100 years of the Commonwealth Games in 2030. So we're setting the road for the next 100 years. So doing this brilliantly is important for Scotland. It's important for the whole Commonwealth.
So, Phil, I think Willie and I love the fact that you're disrupting up a model and it took 4.5 years. Why does it need to do that? Because it kind of fell into that way. So out of adversity, it's what all great entrepreneurs do, right? I've run out of money. What do I need to do now? I need to go a different way. And you have led that, and you've got me excited and Willie excited about the Commonwealth Games coming to Glasgow. So I think I can talk on behalf of myself and Willie and say, if we can help you somehow,
Thank you.
Willie's got plenty of money. So we will help you if you get stuck and you think, how do we do this? You know, because this is Mr. Glasgow. I'm Mr. Ayrshire, but I still think we can get some stuff down there. But good on you for coming up with a new model for delivery, not coming out the public purse. Great for Scotland, great for Glasgow. Good on you.
And where I can help you is I've got pals that have got a lot more money than me.
All welcome.
Can I?
The Go Radio Business Show with Hunter and Haughey. Hit subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and never miss an episode.
Tam,
Yes.
great guest this week on the Board You Can't Afford, right? We've got Gary Crawford, who's the founder of Owendale Advisory. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Hello, Gary. So, what does Owendale Advisory do?
So Owendale Advisory sets out to solve the challenge with AI, which is many organizations jump to the conclusion that it's a technology and a data challenge.
Right.
But in reality, AI touches every aspect of the business, from strategy, operations, workforce dynamics, customer engagement. But senior leaders are often very scared of that. So they want to outsource wholesale to the CTO, to a technology department, or in some worst cases, they want to outsource to a third-party supplier. And quite often, those aren't the right people to be solving the types of challenges that this is, because AI presents really a transformation challenge on a scale that we haven't seen for a long, long time.
So how did you get the knowledge, Gary?
Yeah, good question. So I've spent many years I've got quite a broad background. So I've ran a number of businesses, everything from nightclubs to tennis coaching, and even started with an odd job business when I was 14.
Right.
In my mid-20s, I went back and restudied. I went down a deeply technical route.
All right.
And
Where
then
did you study?
I studied, first of all, at Edinburgh University, and then Napier University after that, and went down the software route.
There were good courses.
Yeah, fantastic courses.
Right.
Yeah, and I thought Napier was fantastic, really good connections into industry there as well.
Right.
But yeah, so I went down a deeply technical route for a number of years and got involved in consultancy with companies like ThoughtWorks and AKQA. But then in one of these strange pegs, it's also spent a fair bit of time on the experiential side as well, in the design side of things. So
Right.
my interest really is where those three things come together: the business strategy, the technology, and the design,
Right.
which AI is one of those challenges. So from an AI perspective, I'm lucky enough to be one of these people that's been involved with AI long before some of them decided to make it cool again. So my experience goes back, almost to my teenage years. And then it's been nice over the last 2 or 3 years to start weaving that into kind of senior level advisory, which is where I've been the last few years.
It's interesting that you say that we only found out from a great friend of ours, tech guy, Chris van der Kel, that Edinburgh University has been talking about AI for 50 years.
Oh,
There
absolutely.
was a course in AI for 50 years.
Absolutely. And actually, if you look at some of the really breakthrough technologies that we see today, it's been around for a long time. I've been playing with neural networks since my teenage years. So
Really?
they're not
What?
necessarily new technologies, but there's been some big
So-
breakthroughs recently.
So what customer would benefit from you? Because you're
Yeah.
here to plug your business as well, but,
Yeah.
but what kind of customers would really benefit from your knowledge?
So the people that really benefit from what we do are board members or senior leadership. So a lot of our engagements are with CEOs, COOs, CFOs, chief product officers. So people that are responsible for driving strategy within the organization,
Uh-huh.
quite often within people functions as well, for understanding kind of learning and development and recruitment processes, so that AI opportunity starts to permeate across the entire business.
Right.
We can do the technology piece, but we don't really want to step on the toes of organizations that are already in that space. So we
Right.
focus on that strategy piece.
I see.
Yeah.
Great.
So what is your question for the board?
So the challenge that we have at the moment, Owendale's a relatively young company. We're less than a year old at the moment.
Okay.
So the challenge that we have is we have a number of forward-thinking clients who recognize that this is a business challenge more than technology and data. However, the mass market are still thinking about this as technology and data. So my question for you today is, how do you create a new market for yourself and help the market to shift towards realizing what they really need to leverage something effectively?
Wow. Right, so let me ask you first. So you're a startup business, right? So at the moment, are you a one-man band? Many staff do you have?
So we've got a kind of freelance network operation at the moment. I want to make sure we've grown a little bit more substantial.
So you would subcontract if you got an opportunity tomorrow, you got other people. Right,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
And at the moment, so we would agree with you because we're learning every day about AI, right?
Yep.
So I'm running a big business. Tom has run businesses, but he's more invested in businesses now. But he's very, very interested in AI, and so am I.
Yeah.
But I would say to you to answer the question that I think that people like me who are running big businesses, right, who are not au fait with what AI has to offer or the dangers, the pros and cons of AI, I would advise you to try and get, I keep using my favourite word, if you could get a pilot, if you went into if you wrote to 10 businesses tomorrow
in the city
and saying that I would offer up a demonstration, I'd be willing to come in and show you a pilot of how you could benefit from AI. And I think for me that if I knew what you knew about AI, I know what I would be doing. People are afraid of the cost, right? So I would be doing it on a risk and reward basis.
Yeah.
Right? And then the margin for you could be much more substantial.
Yeah.
So it's like me, I'll talk about energy. So we work day to day delivering facilities management services, of which we make a very low margin because of the size. It's 100 contracts, right? But if I go into someone tomorrow and say, right, I'll do your energy management for you, that same client is happy to give me a 30% win on a 70-30 no win, no pay basis.
Yeah.
So for you, I think that starting off with a model where you go in and say, don't use the word it's for free. It's a sample, and if it works, if I bring value to your business, then what's my reward? And I think if you wrote to 10 companies just now to say, there's no financial guarantee from you to me, right?
Yeah.
But if I can come in and demonstrate to you, show you one example of how this could help your business. And so my son told me a story this week about AI, right? So he said to me that one of the things about AI is that a huge company in America, Nestle, would have a $500 million a year advertising budget, okay? And they would go to somebody, I'll not mention, but they'd go to a big advertising company and they would then give them advice. But what they would then do was take a chunk. So if they were going to spend 500 million on advertising, there's a good chance that they may be paying 30 to 35 million to the company they go to.
Yeah.
My son's telling me now that these companies are using AI for all their advice on that, and it's costing them $1 million.
Yeah.
Right. So things like this, if somebody brings value to my business like that, how we can use it, what we could do, and I've got no doubt that AI would bring something to my business, especially for a company who prides itself on we've never done any marketing. So if we had developed a tool where that would be much, much cheaper and that you could have a spec. For instance, my business is predominantly in the retail sector. So we've been having conversations for 3 years about how we could maybe try and get to 50-50 non-retail. We've failed miserably, right? We've failed miserably. Oh, to be fair, because we've grown, because other people have given us contracts.
Yeah.
But I think that maybe AI is something that could demonstrate to me how I could get to that other 50%, how I could get to a 50-50 basis. So my advice would be to kind of offer on a risk and reward basis to show a pilot or a sample about the value of AI.
That really resonates because one of the things that we've been doing recently is offering what we call our executive briefings. And that's a closed door session for C-level executives. They are relatively short. We have a 20-minute session where we discuss what the state of the art is, and then an extended Ask Us Anything session where we get questions from everything from what does AI stand for through to what does this mean for our corporate investments and everything in between. But almost every one of those engagements, people are cancelling their meetings afterwards to continue on, and almost every single one results in us doing something with that organisation. So that really makes sense.
So there's a funny story on you saying that people don't know what AI stands for. I seen a wonderful interview last week with Steve Wozniak, right, the co-founder of Microsoft, and he says, I've been using AI for years and years. Actual intelligence. What do you think?
Well, I agree with Willie, and my experience in investing in American companies in software, I remember sitting in the boardroom in Palo Alto, and I'm saying, "Now, where's the sales?"
Yeah.
And they're going, "Oh no, can we show you the technology?" I said, "Yeah, you can show me that, but are the customers buying what we are selling?"
Yeah.
And they were so far ahead, and you can be too far ahead of your market.
Yeah.
And we were.
Okay.
And the way I described it, because I was never going to understand the tech, but I was saying, look, the customer's not buying the tech, they're buying what the tech does, and you're scaring them.
Yeah.
And I think people like me, maybe not Willie, but are maybe a bit scared, right? But we want to know about it. And I used to say to them, look, you need your marketing and your product. You're digging a big hole so that the elephant, the customer, just falls into the hole.
Yeah.
If you dig the hole too far away, you're never going to get a sale.
Yeah.
So I like what Willie's saying, because if you come into Willie's business and then he went, I tell you what, that was really good, then he'll tell his network and your phone will begin to ring.
Yeah.
So you've got to be the pioneer, but don't put it too far ahead, because then we all got a bit, because I remember vividly, because we lost quite a bit of money in this company. They kept wanting to show me, here's the new tech. I said, did anybody buy the old tech? No. So the customers ain't buying what we're selling.
Yeah.
So that's great. Let's slow down the tech. You're scaring the customers.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I will agree right now to get you into City. Next week, I will meet you. I'll put you in front of my tech guys, and then you can convince them how we can do something using AI. And if we can make that work, trust me, we will tell the world.
I love that.
All right?
Fantastic.
So there you go. That's a closed sale. So say into that camera how customers get a hold of you.
So you can reach us at owendaleadvisory.com, or you can see me on LinkedIn. My name's Gary Crawford, and I'm the founder and chief advisor.
Tom, after the holidays, 2 weeks of lying in the sun doing nothing, we're back. Not a great show. We're absolutely over the moon that the Commonwealth Games is coming to Glasgow.
We are.
So for the listeners and the viewers, we hope you enjoyed it. And remember, hit the subscribe button.
And Scotland needs more of the Commonwealth Games sort of thinking. How do we make Scotland great again? You heard it from Phil. You heard it here first. Scotland the Brave.
The Go Radio Business Show with Hunter and Haughey. Hit subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and never miss an episode.